this is going to be part of yesterday's topic, selective memory, but with another understanding to kind of finish up on what selective memory is, which was part of yesterday, and how it could affect your life and your future and all that stuff. Now, in certain ways of going through certain experiences in life where you start working on yourself and you becoming very clear, it's like you start to understand different logic and different thinking when it comes to experiencing life in another way, because you start understanding life. And it's an interesting topic that can go on forever, but experiencing life in another way than what you used to, it's a whole nother change, and it's a good change, and it could be a good change. But it comes with its perks and it comes with its downfalls too, as far as how society labels it and how other people in society itself can affect it. It's a unique understanding, and we all know what unique is. People like unique. And in a few ways, they'll either, everybody will purchase something unique and wait in line. But in this unique way, it's like it becomes a jealous factor. So you gotta understand that this new experience, if you ever experience it, or if you're experiencing it now, it's like be cautious and be careful. It's like all the other topics. People try to manipulate the situation, and it's a very unique way of living and understanding life to where you want to value it properly. You don't want to take advantage of it, and you definitely don't want others to take advantage of it. So the sense of clarity and understanding, like universal laws and the universe and how Earth is and how the universe works, and how there's so many different understandings, and people are starting to try to better themselves, what they would call finding themselves, which is bettering themselves and self-improvement, self-care, self-love, self-awareness, all that stuff. It's to recognize your behaviors and your behavioral patterns to where you can basically change them for the better and get rid of the old pattern, and kind of step out of that pattern or life that you live or whatever it is, your environment, to allow you to have a better change. And so on the topic of selective memory, it's like when it comes to like clarity, we know abilities and psychic abilities, and we know things that we read, but we don't know that it's natural. It comes natural with bettering yourself and doing proper and letting go of old things, and getting them off your shoulder the proper way, understanding them, being able to understand situations and just kind of, basically tell yourself, like, I understand it. Like, I don't need to hold a grudge. I don't need to hold anger towards it. I don't, all the I don't need to, and actually followed through. It's like you move on through life and you have less to think about. And so you're able to become a little bit more intuitive with yourself. You're able to become more in tune with yourself, and recognize your your body functions, and take a moment and be able to analyze, like, well, I have a little, just example, like I have a little ache in my side hand I can rub out, and it's like, okay, so it's an ache and you're rubbing out, and you can enjoy rubbing it out and take the time to, so as a person betters themselves, it's like you find that clarity, and you're able to, it's like your senses start kind of being clear. It's interesting. And so, some people would call this psychic abilities, and they have all these names for it, whether it's clairvoyance and so forth. There's a whole list of them. I don't want to go through them, but I'm sure you can look them up. So when it comes to this lifestyle, as I've talked before, manipulative tactics from other people, there's always going to be some type of manipulative tactic when somebody's trying to take advantage of you, when somebody's trying to blame, when somebody has jealousy, when somebody don't like what you do, when somebody may think it's a threat when it's really not. There could be so many different opinions that could be whatever it is, but there ends up being a manipulative tactic. And it's because basically you're living life different from what they are. And so when you're helping a person or explaining to a person that basically the change in life, it's a good change. It's like I said before, like no involvement of doctors or medicine or whatever, it's like you can kind of save your money and do things properly. And so, of course, the next person is going to be told, whether it's friends, family, whatever, it all starts with that, oh, well, you're looking nice, and then it's like, hey, I started this yoga class or whatever it is. And of course you want to share it with your friends and stuff. And so you want to give your advice because you care about them. It's like, hey, you're wanting to extend the know-hows of how to do things. And so some people, take that advice and it works. And then you're going to have those people that, that are a little bit jealous or whatever, and may see it differently or may understand it or look at it differently. I don't know. But it all ends up being like a manipulative tactic, whatever their problem is with the person. And so these manipulative tactics are basically psychic attacks, what they would call. And it causes mental issues. It causes all sorts of problems. It changes your mood settings, all this stuff. And so when we get into a topic of selective memory, always keep in mind that in this way of living, or in this way of knowing, this exact topic I just spoke of, selective memory, somebody is selecting for that person that's a psychic or that person that has clarity to literally remember something. It is worse than a normal trigger. It is literally somebody putting a thought in your head to trigger you to think about a remembrance of. And it gets bad because it's not only a psychic attack, it comes with a full blown out method of a manipulative tactic to where it's like premeditative. They are thinking of new ways to manipulate you. They have a plan against you. They have a plan against you. They are trying to select certain things that they want you to remember, and those things that they are trying to select benefits them in some way. And whatever that way is, who knows? Because I have witnessed it changed here and there. And they go full thought into it with an intention. And that intention is not good. It is not good at all. Because it first starts with a tactic. Then it starts with what they're selecting that they want you to remember and trigger you off of. And then it's going to lead on to wanting, with an intention, an image. Then they're going to want to hear your thought. And then their intention. If their intention is manipulative even more than that, they're going to literally try to change your thought on their own selectiveness that they made you remember. Meaning, here's an example. They're going to have their intention. They're going to trigger a person to of their own thought. Then the person that they are manipulating is going to have that remembrance, right? And that remembrance is going to be manipulated. They are literally going to put their own intention into your remembrance. Meaning, a certain remembrance will not feel the same. Your experience with that remembrance may be different from the actual true fact of that remembrance. An easier example to understand. If I know I drank water for 2 days straight, and somebody tries to manipulate me, and my remembrance and knowing that I drank water for 2 days, and then here comes the little manipulator psychically trying to manipulate the other person. So they're basically going to use the person that they're triggering, and they're going to make me have a remembrance of me drinking water. But if they want to be very manipulative, they're going to make me think that I was drinking soda or orange juice or whatever it is their intention is to try to trick me. Okay? It's the easiest way to understand it. When I know I drank water. These are things you're going to have to watch out for. Why? Because water is an easy example. Other things are more complicated. It's going to be way complicated. And so to be able to prevent it, they end up getting caught up. Why? This is what happens in the psychic world. Person manipulates a person. Okay? What happens is that first person that got manipulated is getting triggered instantly. So that person that's getting triggered, that very first person, they're going to start having a remembrance. Now, the manipulator is going to have their intention, and they're going to have their methods of whatever they're doing. Okay? And so, what happens is, the person having the remembrance is having a remembrance. And the manipulator is going to pick up some stuff, you know, whatever it is, intel, you can say, on the person they're manipulating. Okay? Now, with just that being said, what happens is they get whatever they're getting out of it, right? So they might like the feeling they get from it. They might like the power they get from it, even though there's no power. They might like all this stuff they're getting from it. But then there's a few things they don't like from it. And so it's like they go fishing for some more. Or investigating for some more, right? And so here they go back with their manipulative tactic. They start making that person have some more remembrance. But they want it their own way. As they're manipulating, they're getting something to benefit themselves out of it as well. So what happens there is they'll pull something else out that they end up being connected with, whatever, shortly. It depends however long the time frame is. And so what happens is, it's like they pull another victim that they connect you with, right? Or, I'm sorry, that they make you think about. And then they try to have a connection with them. Okay? And from there, the same thing happens. And then all of a sudden, something's happening with selective memory, because the person that they're picking up off of the person that they're using could have their own remembrance of something being triggered. Next thing you know, the manipulator's got all these, have all these images, or it just depends what senses they're using. They have different images, feelings, different stories, different everything. And then it's like they pick and choose. Like, oh, I want to keep this around for a while because I like the way that they felt about this person. And so they're taking advantage of the person. They're like double taking advantage of the person that they're manipulating. And then they try to send back all the negative feelings that they want. And it's an ongoing thing. And it continuously starts happening. And it's like they're building up. It's like saving up money in a jar. Except they're doing it with actual people, developing all this stuff, and they're doing it as a what? For what reason? A selfish reason. There's many reasons for it. Could be experience. They want to experience it. It could be taking advantage of a spiritual guide. Most of all, what we don't know of, if you want to bring it down into real naturality, they're taking advantage of a life of science, which is naturally happening as we live, which would be taking advantage of their own religion that they are in, if understood properly, as every father is guidance to their family. So, psychically done, to me it's a no-no. Properly done, it's communication, hands-on, when it comes to guidance. It's like, hey, I'm getting on this podcast and I'm trying to help people with my experience. Maybe my experience will help somebody that may be understanding their own similar situation. You know, maybe there's another father out there that is experiencing this situation that can help that person. There's many ways to help people. There's many ways to guide people. And it's supposed to be one-on-one, face-to-face, phone call, video chat, whatever it is. It is not supposed to be guided like this. It is not supposed to be a spiritual guidance like I'm explaining on this whole podcast. It should not be a connection like this. There should not be no psychic connection. Why? Because of science. Let me explain to you what happens. We already mimic our friends, our family, our parents. I've talked about this in some of my other shows. Is evolvement. What is evolvement? We're evolving. How do we evolve? Unknowingly. If we literally have the mimic neuron in our heads, in our brains, which is literally, they call it a mirror neuron, that means that we will mimic each other somehow, some way. But we need to understand the proper choices. The proper method of taking those choices and understanding them. Understanding what's out of context. Understanding what's out of your comfortability field. What's, understanding what's right and wrong. Understanding your morality of yourself. Like, what morals do you have? So, understand naturally, dealing with society and socialness, that it's more than likely, like, hey, if my friend so-so buys a sports car, I may want one too. If I go to a restaurant and have lunch with a couple friends, I may order something similar like they did. But then again, if I don't, I guarantee you a few days later, I may order what they ordered just to try it another day without the friends. So we all interact differently, but similar. We all end up encouraging each other in a silent type of way. That's not a motivational encouragement. Because I guess we all want to fit in somewhere, right? And so when it comes to proper behavior, proper guidance, proper path, proper doing, proper moralities, and wanting to properly better yourself and properly self-improve yourself and just basically properly do good in life, then as explained, but in the properly doing, we guide each other through our own behaviors, whether they're good or bad. If I take the time to allow myself to teach or be proper to set an example, then it's more than likely that somebody else will respect that and like the way the situation is being dealt with, even if it is a kid or even if it is somebody that thinks they're in trouble. Because they'll be surprised, like, whoa, I thought I was going to get in trouble for doing something wrong, but since this person understood and was able to teach that person something about their wrongdoing into a good doing, it's because the person didn't know that there was another way to do something. Because they only reacted the way they knew. So how we guide each other, is through giving proper advice. And if the person don't understand that proper advice, then we can explain it to them in our own way of as we understood the way we were explaining it to them. So, if it needs a little bit more attention, then and be able to specify on the subject that you're communicating with, then do it. Take the time out to do it because it's worth it. And so the person will be, kind of in a sense of looking up to that person. And so when it comes to so when you're looking up to the proper person, it's like, don't take advantage of them. Like, understand that you can learn things properly by asking or by understanding simple logic. Nothing more, nothing less. Like, just be appreciative that you have somebody to look up to. And you just have to understand, the qualities of things in your life that you have, people in your life, because those people allowed you to live decently with things in your life that they either bought you or school, whatever it is, however they care for you, and it doesn't mean you have to have like all these cool things or anything, like we're all taken care of differently. So be appreciative. And that would be the proper guidance. Um, Other than that, be careful, because manipulation's a big development that goes around every day, every second. Um, Manipulation not having to do with any psychicness. It's like that's always always occurring in life, in the same way, with having their own selective memory to manipulate the other person, whether they got picked on for a long period of time and then they pick on others, um, things like that. And that's one of the main ones that, the what they would call bullying. And so be aware that selective memory can also be what others have experienced, but they inflict on others. And there's always ways to change. There's always issues that can be understood to properly not allow that. And eventually time takes place somewhere. So that saying, like a bully would say, anytime, any place, any whatever, it's like, be cautious of that silent anytime, any place, wherever. Because that's where the universe allows itself to work properly. That's that cause and effect. It's typically what we cause, there's an effect. There's a cause and effect in how we treat others, how a bully would inflict others. And then there's also that behavioral, mental cause and effect. And only us alone as individuals, we can only allow ourselves to change that pattern, to change that behavior. And it starts with a choice and a wanting of that choice to be able to change that behavior. And then we have to make a actual action towards that change, which would be us using our, making our decision, basically, to allow that all to happen. So eventually, time plays its course, and it's going to happen no matter what. Or at least an awareness is going to happen no matter what. But we all end up going through it. So don't pass that up when the opportunity comes. Because most people won't look at it as an opportunity, but it actually really is. A great thing can become out of that opportunity. And so that would be the other way of selective memory, because it is somebody selecting it. And if it ain't you, it's another. So, once again, understanding toxicity, it's being able to understand what is affecting you, what's affecting your behavior, who it could be, knowing when to not allow yourself to be affiliated with other people, to be able to step out of your friend circle to be able to walk away, um, and walking away properly with no grudge. Because no grudge basically means, that you're done playing other people's game. And other people might have a different opinion, but it's the smartest choice. So understand that when a person walks away from toxicity, it's like because they had a realization. And if they're walking away from a group of people or a circle of friends, it's like, don't worry about it. Because they exited the situation. And if you're the one that walked away, it's like, that was the smartest choice. Because there was a reason for that. But it means they had enough. And they realized that no matter how much they did, nothing was ever going to fix itself. No matter how much they tried, it wasn't recognized. No matter how much they apologized, it was never believed. No matter how much they tried to reconcile, it was never cared about. No matter how much they cared, it was never noticed. There's so many issues that people can talk about that person walking away, but they'll never realize that's the reason why they walked away. Is because about all the issues that those people kept on talking. No matter how much they did whatever. Whoever that person was that walked away. So, and that would be an interesting topic, but also an awesome awareness that that is another way of a selective memory, is that they chose to remember everything that wasn't working properly. And they made that choice to walk away. So, life is interesting. Life ain't a game. Never play a life as if it's a game, because it can definitely be played on you. And so you gotta watch out for toxicity in your life. It doesn't serve no purpose.